I hate muling every run. Yeah, you no longer have to mule every run. You're now gonna have one personal tab, which is the P, and you're gonna have 9 shared tabs. How do you change stash tabs fast? With mouse wheel. This is mouse wheel. So you can mouse wheel them, you can click them. It's up to you how you want to do it, right? You can mouse wheel, you can click. You can pick up an item and you can click on the tabs with your item. All different ways to do it, right? So this will be coming in Season 5. So this basically means no mules. I can have 10 playable characters. Yep, true. Are stash tabs gonna fuck with Pluggy? No. On single player, the stash tabs are disabled because they're not shared. So if you want to play with stash tabs on single player, you have to use Pluggy still. This is an online feature only, unfortunately. Just because of the way that it's all like rigged up and everything, it kind of it relies on the servers in order to sync up everything and stuff. So you can still have shared stash on single player. You just gotta use Pluggy though. Shared stash tabs are available to every character in one account, right? Correct. That is shared. That is the purpose of shared stash tabs. So 1 to 9 are shared and available to every character on said account, and P is personal and only to your exact character. Hardcore characters only lose personal stash? Correct. So if a hardcore character rips, you will lose your personal stash. You will not lose your shared stash. Do not put anything that you are not wanting to lose in your personal stash while playing hardcore. Any chance we can custom name stash tabs in the future? Probably not, no. One, the UI is very small. There's not really any room to name them. 2, it's a fixed image. It's not text. It's actually like a fixed Photoshop image. So very, very unlikely. Why would I want to make it a currency tab though when I could just do this? Looks like I got a lot of room for currency. There you go. It's my currency tab. And this is my unique tab. Mind blown. Exactly, it makes no sense to limit the tab. Yeah, exactly. There's actually no reason for us to have a currency tab because we have stackable materials. The only reason why a currency tab would make sense is if we didn't have stackable materials. If we didn't have stackable materials and the only way to stack them was via a currency tab, that would make sense. But because we literally have massive fucking stashes and stackable materials, it doesn't really make sense to have a dedicated currency tab when you can just do whatever you want. I think we have some skill reworks. We'll probably show maybe 1 or 2 skill reworks next week. I think next week. So next week we actually have a brand new mechanic that we're going to be showing. So I think next week we're going to be showing a brand new mechanic. We're going to be talking about changes we're making to rare items. And then we'll probably show some more uniques. I think that's probably the plan for next week. New mechanic, new uniques, and talking about rare changes, I think. And then maybe we'll do like a skill rework or 2. I'd really like to know something. Are you and your team okay with the money donations? Right now we're fine currently, yeah. It's changes per month, on a per month basis. We're in our off season right now. Our off season has very low costs. And obviously support does drop. But currently we're fine, yeah. That changes drastically based on resets. For example, the first month of each season is usually a struggle, I'm gonna be honest with you. The only, to be 100% transparent with you guys, literally the only reason why we survive through the first month of every season is because of our beta. To be 100% honest, if we didn't have closed beta is basically like the support reset, honestly. Theodora 17 with the Prime, I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like every closed beta, people remember we exist, and then they support the project again. and that like floats us through the first month. Like literally without the influx of support that always happens around beta time, we actually could not make it through the first month of each reset. So if you're ever like interested in supporting PD2, and you feel like you can only maybe do it like a little bit, I would say probably just do it like around. I mean, it doesn't really matter when you do it because it just sits in the account until it is needed, but it always helps the most around reset for sure. Okay, so like we talked about earlier, I'm gonna move on. For I love your streams is always chill. Yeah, I'm glad you like it. So we added P5 maps. We talked a little bit about the shared stash. We added a shared stash, obviously. We'll go into the uniques real quick and just talk about them a little bit. So something that we talked about earlier in the stream is that I want to add more options for curse duration reduction as opposed to just being so focused on Crown of Ages. One of the ways that we did that is we added a sword called Odium, which is a dual wield barbarian slash shapeshift druid focused item. As you can see, it has 35% curse duration reduction, which can be stacked with the dual wielding. P5 maps, correct. P5 maps. So the entire game will be players 5 now, not just LED zones. P5 maps, guess missing stuff is what I get for doing dishes. Correct. The art's really nice. Yeah, this art's made by Erlen. All the art on these new items, except for the gloves. The gloves are actually made by Nefrites, I believe. But the rest are all made by Erlen. So yeah, Odium, like I said, it's focused around primarily dual-wield barbarians and shapeshift druids. That's why it's 65 IS. The reduced curse duration reduction stacks. So if you're dual-wielding on a barbarian, you can get up to 70% by dual-wielding these. It's got 10 to 15 life after each demon kill, requirements, yada, yada, yada. Obviously a very nice item, especially if you want to go a little bit more of a defensive route. The other curse duration reduction item that we implemented is called Occultist. It's 20% faster cast rate, 30% reduced curse duration, currently rolled on this one, but the variable is 25 to 35. It has hit blinds target, which applies from attack skills and does not override curses. So if you are fighting mobs and you have amp damage, for example, the hit blinds target will actually stack with the amplify damage, making it a very good, useful stat for any attack-based skill. And it has 80 to 100 enhanced defense, and it also rolls 25 to 35% increased max mana, which is obviously good just for any character that needs a larger mana pool, as well as energy shield sorceresses. So it's got quite a few uses. It can be used in a lot of different builds, lots of use cases for this item depending on what you want to do. Its only current drawback is potentially the fact that it doesn't have any resists, and the fact that it has a 151 strength requirement. So it's a very useful item for a lot of different builds. It just depends what you want to do with your character. Curse reduction on curse mastery base points. Oh, it's like a passive? I don't think so, honestly, but it kind of does make sense thematically. It's kind of an interesting point, but you're gonna wear a storm shield anyways, who cares? Wait, what does that have to do with anything we just said? Oh, because of the strength requirement. Oh, yeah. You're saying if you were going to go for Storm Shield with a 156 strength shield, then the 151 requirement wouldn't matter. Yeah, exactly. Which is why the 151 isn't the end of the world, right? Because a lot of builds are going to be around the 150-ish point anyways. Some builds might require maybe putting 20, 30 points in. If you're playing like a Paladin, for example, and you want to go for like a Curse Duration Reduction Paladin, your highest strength requirement item is like your Sacred Targe, then you might have to invest a little bit, but for the majority, you're going to be fine. Another item that we talked about that we added is Merman's Sprocket. This is actually an item that was originally designed by the Diablo 2 team. It was called Merman's Sprocket Wormhide Boots. In the original game, it had 65% faster run walk, and it had some super overpowered stats that were completely busted beyond belief. So I basically removed all the overpowered stats. And then I went with the theme that it's a very faster run walk boot. So I reduced it from 65 to 60%, stripped down all the extra stats, and basically made it like a glass cannon faster run walk boots. As you can see, it also has 40 to 80 cold damage, 50 to 100 defense, 10 to 20 mana regen, 50 to 100 max stamina, and 50% slower stamina drain. The next item that we're going to talk about is Martyrdom. Martyrdom is a new Necromancer shield that's primarily focused around Corpse Explosion and Poison Strike. It has a 15% chance to cast level 35 bone armor on striking, for example, when you attack with Poison Strike. Corpse explosion radius increased by 2 yards. It rolls 2 to 3 to Necromancer skills, has 35% faster hit recovery. It adds 300 to 350 poison damage over 2 seconds. For anyone that doesn't know, flat poison damage is carried by the Poison Strike cloud. So that 300 to 350 damage over 2 seconds is actually carried by Poison Strike as well. It has 2 to Poison Strike on top of that, so it is essentially a 5 Poison Strike, 300 to 350 poison damage over 2 seconds application onto your Poison Strike. It has 220 to 260 ED, which is extremely high for a Necromancer shield. This actually has comparative defense to Storm Shield. It also has 12 to 18 magic damage taken reduced by, and it has 20 to 30% damage taken gained as mana when hit, which will obviously help a little bit of your mana issues if you're playing a melee Necro and you're tanking a lot and you don't have good leech because you're focused around using a dagger. So it's good for a few things. Are poison charms carried too? Correct. All sources of flat poison damage are carried into both Cobra Strike and Poison Strike. So if you are playing either a Cobra Strike or a Poison Strike Necromancer, poison charms will apply, emeralds will apply, any source of poison damage whatsoever will apply to your Poison Strike and your Cobra Strike. Both of those skills carry poison damage. And then the last item we're going to talk about here is Zere's Resolve. Zere's Resolve is a matriarchal pike that is primarily focused around obviously any type of Javazon that's melee, or any type of Summons-on that is typically Valkyrie based. The purpose of this item is that it provides a level 25 to 30 Holy Shock aura, which can obviously be combined with Dream. It has a 3 to 4 Amazon skills, which is obviously nice for basically any Amazon skill, whether you're a summoner or a Fizz build or even a CS on. It's got 20 IS, 200 to 250 ED, 2 to Valk, 2 to Joust O skill, which allows you to essentially teleport similar to Dragonflight. If you're not familiar with Joust, it is a paladin skill that is based on Dragonflight. It's essentially a teleport attack skill. It has 20 to energy, lightning res 30 to 45, and magic damage taken reduced by 8. One of the great things about this item is the fact that it opens up your chess piece if you're a Summons-on, because a Summons-on typically needs something like Enigma to relocate their Valkyries. However, if you're using this for the Joust, you can still instead use something like a Peace Rune Word, which gives you +1 additional Valk. So you could actually have 4 Valkyries by using a Peace Chest and then using this Joust from ability. So it does open up options in terms of builds and build playstyles. So another new feature that we've added is we have added a gamble refresh button. So anyone that likes to gamble a lot, you now have a gamble refresh button.
Please notice me, Senpai! Please notice me, Senpai!
Senpai is cool guy less than 3.
Yo, what's going on, Cupcakes? We also talked about how we improved the auto gold pickup. So auto gold pickup now picks up in an AoE around you instead of picking them up one by one. So if you're playing and you're farming Trav, for example, you're not going to have to like wait for it to like pick up the stacks, like stack, stack, stack. It'll just go bloop and suck everything up at once. It's obviously a big quality of life increase there. We also talked about how we're going to be drastically increasing the drop rates of Uber materials for Diablo Clone and Rothma. We're going to like massively boost the shit out of them so that more people can get their hands on the fight. We're changing ethereal items so that they give half the bonus they do currently, but then we're re-implementing that lost power into the base themselves to reduce the difference between ethereal and non-ethereal. Neelathok with the T1 5 months. Nice name, dude. Appreciate that. Pretty sure I said that every time you sub, though. So yeah, we reduced the ethereal bonus and then re-implemented that into the base itself so that ethereal will make less of a difference. Ethereal is still going to be just as strong, and ethereal is still going to be best in slot. But you won't feel completely shafted by getting a non-ethereal item, right? You're not going to get a non-ethereal decleaver and be like, ah, oh, fuck, I got a non-ethereal decleaver, this is trash, you know? You'll be like, oh, this is still sick. But an ethereal one would be better. Right. Okay, so Going over this is one of the last things we'll talk about. We added buff icons. So you can see at the bottom bar here, we've added buff icons in the game. Not only did we add buff icons, we also introduced different ways of tracking different skills and skill progression. A good example of that is MA skills. So MA skills can be sometimes hard to see when you're generating your charges. What we did is we made it so when you attack with an MA skill, it'll actually pop up and it'll show you how many charges you currently have. So if you pay attention to me attacking here, it shows Phoenix Strike charge 1. If I rotate here to another skill like Cobra Strike, for example, you can see I attack and I've generated 2 strikes of Cobra because I used my second tier. I can then switch to Fist of Fire, for example, and proc, right? So as you're transitioning through your stages, you can actually see it generating and dumping the charges. So if you look at Frenzy now, because Frenzy has so many stacks, it's actually a progressional bar. So you can see this like stamina looking bar. As I attack, that stamina looking bar actually fills up more and more. And you can see it filling up until it goes to max, right? And now I'm at max charges. It's completely full. Same thing with Maul 2, I assume? Correct. Maul will be the exact same. Now if we look at something like Feral Rage also shows? Correct. All skills with any timer whatsoever will show. So here's another example. Bone Armor does not have duration, right? Bone Armor has no duration, but it goes away after it's absorbed a certain amount. So instead, with something like Bone Armor or Cyclone Armor, we actually made it so that it shows the damage taken to the Bone Armor the same way that it would do duration taken. So you can see the Bone Armor is graying out as I take damage, right? See how it chunks down? Chunking down more, now it's gone. And so, as opposed to it showing the duration ticking away, it shows the damage lost.
Evil beware.
So, if you see my Thunderstorm now, this is a 32-second duration, right? You can see the black bar is ticking down and showing that the Thunderstorm duration is going down, right? You can see it blacking out, right? A faster example would be Teleport debuff. See the Teleport debuff going away? And you can see the thing under my feet matching it, right? Can't play in a small ass window anymore to see buff timers. It's harder to see them in a small window, but I'm playing on a small window and I can see it just fine, so. It's also nice placement of the health bar. True. One thing D2R came out with in P2R is quick casting hotkeys for skills. I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's a good, easy addition to the game. Hotkeys, skills Q, W, E, R, for example, push, and immediately cast where your cursor is. Yeah, we've seen that. We talked about whether we want to add it or not, to be honest. I'm not really sure if we do or don't. I'm on the fence about how I feel about quick cast on keybinds. I feel like, I don't know. See, the thing is about quick cast on keybinds is I do understand there's some quality life behind it, but I also kind of feel like it pulls away from the way that Diablo plays and feels like it is when it plays. Like, I don't know. I have really mixed feelings. Part of me likes quick cast keys. Part of me feels like it makes the game feel less D2. Like, I'm on the fence about it. I actually don't know how I feel about quick cast. If I'm being like 100% honest. I feel like, yeah, I'm very split. Half of me likes it. Half of me feels like it's not D2. I don't actually know what I prefer.